All right.
Good morning, everyone. Um, Welcome to uh, Hidden Black Law, the, the stuff no one will tell you because it doesn't help them and only helps you. Just be honest, you know,
Yeah,
game
man.
is to be sold, not to be told, as they say.
Yeah. I'm sorry. I just had a random anecdote. So, I mean, and I really don't know how it happened, but I ended up in, it was really like a chill interaction, though, even though it was with one of those state agents yesterday.
Yeah,
Because, so I don't like, I guess a nail got in my tire. And so I called one of those mobile repair units or whatever,
yeah,
came and patched it up. And I don't know how this happened. So the tire was flat on the left side, and I can only guess that like they use like one of those big race car type jacks or whatever, but only on one side.
yeah. I got you. I got you.
Yeah. So when he let the car down, I think it just like let it down very sudden, and because the dude was like, "Oh, you're well," because he pulled me up, and he was like, "I was like, man, what's happening here?" So he rolls down, I roll down the window just a little bit. He comes. And actually, I expected him on my driver's side, but I realized where I parked, so he came up on my passenger side, and he was like, "Oh, license and registration." I was like, "Excuse me, what's the nature of the stop?" I had to like, he was like, "Oh, it's just a repair." You had your right, the right side. All your lights are out on the right side. And I was just like, "Oh, I told him about the flat tire." He was like, "Okay, everything's good." But I was like, "All right, just give me. I know how repair orders work." Wasn't in for a conversation. Just give me the paper. But
Interesting.
yeah. I was really like I
Well,
had no clue
for
because
one, let's do disclaimer first before we,
oh yeah, when we get into the cast, yeah, I'm sorry, I just had an anecdote for you.
yeah, go ahead.
All right, so as per the usual, if you're around these parts, the cast going forward will be for educational and informational purposes only. If you are dealing with a legal matter and representation would benefit you, please seek such representation and be advised. However, if you'd like to learn the letter of the law in its most literal form, we're here to discuss and explore that information with you from a factual realm. This is not legal advice. Please seek counsel if you are dealing with legal matters. Nah, not to go too deep.
All right.
All right, so I guess I'm
I
jumping
was
right
gonna
in.
say, well, yeah. So
Okay, yeah.
first, always make sure you always remember an attorney's first duty is to the court. That is literally the bar association membership statement. Their first duty is to the court, is not to their client. So when you seek that legal representation, remember that everybody in court works for the same person, not you.
Yeah, that's
Um,
kind of crazy. Attorneys are the lowest level of counsel.
yeah. And to go back to your statement with the eight public servant, um, the fact he says license registration, he doesn't say please because that's actually part of the whole statement is license registration please. It's only a
Yeah,
request. He can only request it, and they leave that out on purpose because as long as they don't say it, you get to it. Hey, whatever you assume is your assumption.
yeah. These people are funny, man.
Yeah, but anyway, today we're going to do uh, continuation with the clarification of the Constitution. Most people have never read it. They don't know what it says. They have no idea what it means, and any part of it. So whenever they hear someone say something, oh, that's unconstitutional, or the Constitution says, they just go along with it because it's better for them. It takes less education, and they make life easy. You know, people like easy life. They don't like hard. So
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Well, before we get into the discussion at hand for today, I guess I should go ahead and read Hale
yeah,
versus Hinkle right quick.
and we're simple.
All right. Yep. Hale versus Hinkle, U.S. 1906. Hale versus Hinkle was decided by the United States Supreme Court in 1906. The opinion of the court states the individual may stand upon his constitutional rights as a citizen. He is entitled to carry on his private business in his own way. His power to contract is unlimited. He owes no duty to the state or to his neighbors to divulge his business or to open his doors to an investigation, so far as it may tend to incriminate him. He owes no duty to the state, since he receives nothing therefrom, beyond the protection of his life and property. His rights are such as existed by the law of the land, common law, long antecedent to the organization of the state, and can only be taken from him by due process of law, and in accordance with the Constitution. He owes nothing to the public so long as he does not trespass upon their rights.
Clarify due process of law means
thank you.
Trial by jury, not a jury trial. A jury trial just means there's people there also. So that's why the judge actually makes a decision in a court case when it's just a jury trial, because whatever the jury says, he doesn't really have to. He's just an opinion. Just like the president and the elections, which are really selections. They take an opinion poll with who the people want. They can go either way they want to. It doesn't really matter. So anytime you hear, they say trial by jury, it's completely different than a jury trial. So there's two different distinctions. Hopefully you get a trial by jury. Sometimes you might just get a jury trial. That's up to you. Yeah. So if it does, that's the whole has to be by a legal right, or has to be done properly. Your none of your privileges or rights can be taken away without due process, and they do it quite often simply because people are ignorant.
It's the easiest way. And you already know the opinion that it was just so striking.
Oh, the one I always talk about?
Yeah.
Yeah, the judge, and when if you attend law school, or you turn any kind of law classes, from the ones I've gone to and attended, there's a famous statement by a judge. I don't really remember which one, but it says most of the people who are in jail are there voluntarily. So
yeah,
they chose to be there because they didn't know any better.
I'd venture to guess like 90%.
It's probably more than that, honestly. Because you got actual crime is rare.
Yeah, like against another man or woman.
Civil disputes are average, are the norm. Criminal activity is rare.
Yeah, it's just the state making themselves the middlemans in private affairs, and like that's I was just talking to my friend about the family court the other day. I mean, family court, but when you go there, it seems like most of the litigation is meant to tear asunder the family dynamic. But
what's this old statement? An intelligent man makes a terrible slave. Intelligence makes a man unfit for slavery.
Yeah, there you go.
So, it is what it is. The 14th Amendment. You can be that slave if you want to.
You ready to get into Article 2 here?
Yeah, it's not very narrow.
So we dealing with the powers of the executive branch, if you're not familiar. All right, so Section 1.
People should probably listen to this too. I'm just going to jump. Sorry, but people should actually listen to it simply because it has to do with the executive branch and what is it? A presidential? What they call them right now? They have what are these rules they're making up right now?
Not executive orders, or mandates, or which ones?
Whatever they.
Yeah, they do a lot of spicy language that really ultimately means nothing. Man, Biden is so egregious with it. I'd just be shocked that people aren't like, yo, who is this guy? Where does he get off? Because he's just like, get vaccinated or or suffer. I'm like, what? Like, what is this guy on right now?
I mean, it is like.
I'm not gonna
So
save those stories for another time.
I was gonna say before we like one more side
Yeah, you got
segue. I was actually talking to someone who's planning on running for political office in my locally, and he was actually well aware of the things that we talk about mostly on our cast. Not because of our cast, but because someone had he knew his uncle was in government, and it was advised him on these matters long ago. And he's like he's younger now. He's like 28, 29. You know, trying to get into government right now. And I was applauding. I was happy because somebody actually gave him the education early in his life, as opposed to him having to go through the whole process of learning it like most have to.
Yeah. So now he's got like a strong background in it.
Yeah. So he was all talking. He was talking about the statutes are not law except for business, and we got the whole citizen thing, and the explanation of it, and police. Mind you, he's a firefighter, but he was talking about police power and how it isn't actually no power, but keep that on the hush.
Yeah, oh man,
ain't gonna be no problems.
Yeah, that's crazy because I actually don't think I've heard anyone outside of you and I and Bach when he on here with us discussing the aspect of statutes not being law. I feel like we're the only people I've ever heard having that discussion.
Like I said, it was a private discussion between two men, so it was a lot different than what it would be to the general population.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Two knowledgeable men. That's what it was. Two general knowledgeable men. It was so we got to bounce stuff off of each other.
Yeah, it's really nice.
It's really nice to actually have an intelligent conversation.
Right.
Very rare.
It's tough out here in these streets, man.
Right. Anyway, let's get into it.
All right. So, yeah, and I was just reading over it. So here, let's dig in. Section 1. The executive power shall be vested in a president of the United States of America. He shall hold his office during the term of 4 years, and together with the vice president, chosen for the same term, be elected as follows.
That's pretty self-explanatory.
Yeah.
They serve 4 years. Even though there's some people who try to make it more by, I don't know what power they had to do that, but whatever.
Well, people will try all sorts of things. Each state shall appoint, in such manner as the legislator thereof may direct, a number of electors equal to the whole number of senators and representatives to which the state may be entitled in the Congress, but no senator or representative or person holding an office of trust or profit under the United States shall be appointed an elector. All right. So we're getting into the elector conversation.
Yeah, and I always like to point out hold office as of trust or profit. The president is part of that elector. But we all know how that went. So, but I don't know if we all know how that went. If you don't actually hand anything over of your businesses, then you are literally and then having all your conferences and rallies and fundraisers on your property that you get paid for, then you are a profit under United States, so you're holding position to make profit, which is completely, as you see, illegal. So, or an unlawful, but whatever. People didn't care, so.
Yeah, they kind of let that man get away with. I mean, how many ways was he making money in office? It was kind of anyway.
Criminal. Yeah, it was criminal. But whatever.
So here we go. The electors shall meet in their respective states and vote by ballot for two persons of whom one at least shall not be an inhabitant of the same state with themselves, and they shall make a list of all the persons voted for, and of the number of votes for each, which list they shall sign and certify and transmit sealed to the seat of the government of the United States, directed to the President of the Senate.
You should break it up in parts. So don't.
Yeah, let's just pause right there.
Yeah.
All right. So, yeah, the electors, so they all pretty much in private all vote for, and they hand it off and they certify it to the President of the Senate to basically make their record official as to who's been selected. I guess electors, voters. I feel like only electors actually hold an assumed power.
They do. They do. Also, I like the language they use. Persons.
Yeah. They always use persons. Well, you already know.
They know persons. We've dealt with that many casts. Persons is the way to go when you're talking about business.
Yeah. It's funny because you can't really acknowledge men and women when you're talking about persons. But of course, that's in.
That's why it doesn't say it.
Yeah, it's very purposeful.
No place in here will say men and women.
Well, me, I know I'm reading a bit hastily, but I'm kind of doing it with a slight intent. But I guess I should chill because Article 2 isn't nearly as lengthy as Article 1 was.
No.
All right, so there's some interesting parts as I go down here. The President of the Senate shall, in the presence of the Senate and the House of Representatives, open all the certificates, and the votes then shall be counted. The person having the greatest number of votes shall be the president. All right, here comes where things get a little more interesting. If such number be a majority of the whole number of electors appointed, and if there be more than one who have such a majority and have equal number of votes, then the House of Representatives shall immediately choose by ballot one of them for president. And if no person have a majority, then from the 5 highest on the list, the said House shall in like manner choose the president. Man, let's just get to this last part. Okay. But in choosing the president, the votes shall be taken by states, the representation from each state having 1 vote. So I just thought that was interesting that the presidential election, no matter what channels you think were doing the process, can ultimately come down to 5 people highest in the House of Representatives. Because weird enough, it didn't say what that number in proportion to equality is to make it a discrepancy.
Well, I need to stop thinking like that. As some people know, it's all selection, and the selection committee gets to decide, as you see, no matter what, who is the president.
Yeah, hold on, I'm just gonna give myself a little bookmark here. All right, that's first.
All by selection. The president is technically never elected. He's selected.
Never elected. And I got this one from you. I understood it logistically. My brain didn't compile it this way to say it. But as you've said to me before, votes are an opinion. They're an opinion poll.
Yeah.
So they get you hyped up on those polls all election cycle, and then the whole big grand finale is an opinion poll. Well,
at the end of the day, who's to say which votes actually were voted and who's counting them? Because even if you can do as many audits as you want, it's not really technically going to matter, simply because you're not auditing the whole entire country. You're not counting every single vote of the country. It's just a number compiled and put into a system. And computers and everything that's done not manually. Unless you go literally say 1 2, 3, 4, down the line, all day, take a week to do it. In every single state, in every county, in every city.
And even that, I'm gonna just be honest with you. That's like saying you would have to get
people you actually think are honorable.
I mean, no. Well, that's what I was going to make the point. The only way to do a thing like that, and it makes me laugh because it's kind of like the model behind cryptocurrency, where you get like, let's say you have 5 official counts. You know what I'm saying? And those 5 officials come up with, like it's like when you watch boxing matches, and there's always that one judge. You're like, yo, what the hell were you watching? Like, if you can't have the ability to parse out that shady individual who's clearly trying to skew things, then it kind of makes it all moot. Like, I was going to say 3 people, but 2 versus 1 could still be sketch, like boxing judges. So that's why I say you probably have to have it done 5 times over, and then say like at least 4 of these counts were accurate for it to feel as though there was any serious degree of accuracy. Because I was about to say, it's funny because they're always voter fraud, blah blah blah. What's the threshold? I mean, because there's always an over under. What's the margin?
Well, yeah, over under, like you said, of like 2%, 3% is over under. But at the same time, even if that is the threshold, who's to say which way it went?
I mean, I've never even seen an official statement about a threshold for, this is the point when we know voting has the system has failed. Like, I've never seen it drafted out in specific terms saying, hey, at this point, like, let's say you say 2 to 3%, at a 4% margin of error, we got to do this all over again.
No, they would never do it.
So it all ends up getting selected in the end, in the end game anyway. I mean, how thoroughly is the public investigating the results that come to them?
How much does the public even care? Because I always put it like this: it's a bird. It has 2 wings, left, right. You're either leftist or you're far right. Which one are you going to be? Left wing or the right wing? Either way, you're still the same bird, and both are necessary for the fly.
Yeah, I was about to say, you think all the dissension is making things free fall, but it's actually keeping the flight stable.
Well, how do I keep a job if I don't got nobody to go against?
Yeah.
If I don't have a difference of opinion from the other person, how do I keep my job?
It's funny because as we see what almost went down in our nation a while back, it makes me think about that show Castlevania, where Dracula ultimately decides, hey, I'm tired of humans altogether. Let's kill all humans. And all the vampires jump on board at first, but then it's like, yo, if we kill all the humans, that's our food source. Like, it's a double-edged sword that ultimately, it's a suicide plan long form.
And they all came to the same conclusion: free-range chattel. Free-range livestock.
Yeah, actually, ultimately, yeah, Dracula, they ultimately went against them.
They went against them, and they wanted free-range livestock. They get to go ahead and live their life every once in a while, and then every once in a while they get to take and kill some people.
Yeah,
but keeps the population up and keeps us fed. So,
like an alleged treaty from the 1920s that we won't discuss. You can take a few here and there, just kind of let us be in peace. Oh man, I know y'all got to study. All right, anyway, let me continue. A quorum for this purpose shall consist of a member or members from 2/3 of the states, and a majority of all the states shall be necessary to a choice. Choice is capitalized there. I thought that was interesting. In every case, after the choice of the president, the person having the greatest number of votes of the electors shall be the vice president. But if there should remain 2 or more who have equal votes, the Senate shall choose from them by ballot the vice president.
Did you like you said, you saw how it says choice?
Yeah.
That meant selection.
Yeah, I know. That's why they capitalized it and used it more than once. They're very deliberate. I find it I don't know, what's the word? I find it enlightening how deliberate they are in their speech.
What people fail to realize is every single word of the Constitution went over before it was placed in it. Every single word. No word is out of place. Nothing is misspoken. Nothing is said improperly. Everything was said the way it's supposed to be said.
You know, that reminds me of a friend of mine who always says, everything you see is purposeful and meant to elicit some type of reaction or create some sort of paradigm. And it's funny how he says it, because he always gets the definition of everything, and then in that definition it says every single thing, and he always highlights that. And I'm like, yeah, man, it's good to see people who occasionally have some deeper thoughts about what it is they see. But
like I always say, all words matter.
Yeah. All right, so let's see. It says here, the Congress may determine the time of choosing the electors and the day on which they shall give their votes, which day shall be the same throughout the United States. They do it on the same day. No person except a natural-born citizen or a citizen of the United States at the time of the adoption of this Constitution shall be eligible to the office of president. Let me just get through this paragraph. Neither shall any person be eligible to the office who shall have attained the age of 35 years and been 14 years a resident within the United States. So, yeah, you know, it's funny, like you were talking about the president is a member. You know, it's like, I'm not just a client. I'm not just a member. I'm also a client. Yeah, you got to be a citizen. So they're even saying you got to claim citizenship to be the CEO.
The only two places in government where you actually have to be a citizen, as Rafael Cruz would from Canada would let you know, is president and governor. That's the only two. That's the only two times you have to be a citizen: president and governor. Every other place, even our father has told me this. You know, when he worked for the government. You know, it's everyone within the government knows this. It's just the people outside of it that don't. So the only time you need to be a citizen is president or governor.
Yeah, and that's funny.
President or governor. Yeah.
Yeah, that's just because of their direct representation of the corporation.
Yes, one runs the state, the other runs the nation.
The nation. Yep, federal and state.
Yeah.
That's crazy. But not so crazy if you're read up. All right, moving on. In case of the removal of the president from office.
Well, can we wait for a second?
Oh, go ahead. Yeah, we can.
I just want to go back to that. His name is Rafael Cruz. This guy really made up a name, Ted, out of nowhere, out of thin air, and told everybody call him by it.
Yeah, that's why it's not even short for Edward.
It's not. He literally. I saw. I was doing some study. He literally actually made that up. He literally made it up in school one day. It was like, my name's Ted now. Okay, I didn't know we could do that. You know, I understand those. We have nicknames. You know, I didn't know your nickname was allowed to be your official name.
Yeah. Well, I'm always of the rule. You're not allowed to make up your nickname. If you made up your nickname, you're corny. R.I.P. Kobe Bryant, but I felt some type of way when I found out that he created the Black the moniker, because you're not allowed to make up your nicknames. That's corny.
Yeah, it is. It is. I never called him Black Mamba.
Yeah, that's not legal. Rafael.
Yeah, Rafael Cruz. Anyway.
Oh yeah. All right. Okay. There we go. In case of the removal of the president from office or his death, resignation, or inability to discharge the powers and duties of the said office, the same shall devolve on the vice president, and the Congress may by law provide for the case of removal, death, resignation, or inability, both of the president and vice president, declaring what officer shall then act as president, and such officer shall act accordingly until the disability be removed or a president shall be elected. Any thoughts on that? Because I think they did a very interesting pivot that's just there that I wonder if you caught.
I'll say this. I know from military standpoint, we all are taught and all know that it is the motto or the way we do things. We do not remove sitting presidents from office. So no matter what a president might do, no matter how many impeachments they may get, we will not remove them. We will just ask that they step down. If they decide not to, well, we can't really do anything because from a military standpoint and from a government standpoint, it makes the nation look weak. That you can't even get this one job right. You had one job, and you can't get that right.
Yeah, so it's very divisive.
From a military standpoint and from a government standpoint, it is not in the best interest of the nation to remove a sitting president. So that's why we don't do it. It's
like
actually
here we are in America.
It's one of those unwritten rules that we don't do. Everyone knows that's one thing you don't do. He may be terrible, but we don't remove him.
Yeah,
they have to remove himself.
And it's funny because I feel like in my lifetime, the first time I could really witness how that works was the impeachment. Well, I can't do the quote unquote. It was an actual impeachment of Bill Clinton, but like just like with what's his face? Was Nixon? I was about to say I'm not a crook. Yeah. The impeachment was on. He actually he got impeached and then resigned, but he wasn't actually forced out of office, right? Or didn't he finish up the term and then just
he was going to be impeached, so he resigned.
There you go. Okay, yeah, the process was on his doorstep because Clinton was the first time it went through.
Yeah,
and even that, that was just all it was saying. Of course, is what. It's funny how often impeachment is brought up like a pop culture thing now because all it means is they have some sort of there's a case able to be presented that can be laid out against the president for some violation. And it doesn't necessarily mean they're going to go forward beyond that. It just literally means, hey, we have enough information to put a case in front of the sitting members of the government against you.
Fun fact, I think the former president, Barack Obama, is the only one who has been allowed to visit foreign countries after presidency. And what I mean by that is due to the nature of the criminality of being president and war crimes, they all technically are war criminals, and they are, each president pardons the former president of any war crimes that were committed. So it is why you never see any other president leave the country. They stay within these walls.
Yeah,
and if they do leave, it's under heavily guarded protection, and that's only like death of another head of a nation. You never see them leave.
I remember that being a thing with W.
Huh?
I remember that being a thing with W. He doesn't leave the nation. He's like the prime war criminal of all living presidents.
He's still technically a war criminal, and many nations have said if he ever stepped foot in their country, they would have him arrested and charged with war crimes against crimes against nation and UN sanctions and go against UN board. So he looks like he's having a good time not leaving the country though. Michelle be keeping him company.
Yeah, you checked out his artwork. He's actually a pretty solid painter. It's kind of weird, like one of those savant things. I don't know.
let's not go there.
Yeah. But anyway, all right. Let me
back to
yeah. Okay, so here goes with things. Oh, So here's the thing I was saying that was in there, because they were basically saying if they remove the president from office and they, whatever they deem the ineligibility of him to continue being president, they're basically saying that said status can be deferred onto the vice president. See, this is some stuff I had never caught before. It says the same shall devolve on the vice president. And Congress is now open to being able to dismiss the vice president as well and pick further down the chain as to who will be next in line to be president. So they can dismiss your whole, your ticket.
If you're vice president, you're literally attached to him.
Well, yeah, but the status doesn't if they die or they resign or mental instability. I mean, it's not
your vice president take over in death. If you're talking about Nixon and resigning and stuff like that, the removal process, everything is put onto the whole entire, who's done, how many criminals do you have here? That's why they have to go down the line, because they have to see who is next in line to try to get, we're trying to rid ourselves of all the criminality that was happened in the first place. So until we get to that level of who's next in that chain of command, we can't have another president.
I mean, they can keep the vice president. Well, I was just noting that it was it's within Congress's power to just decide that. But yeah, I see what you mean.
It's a corporation. What just like what board? What does any board do?
Yeah, I dig it. I mean, I guess you're saying, the CEO and his administration, it's now the company's in flux. So you can shift it however you want when you pick a new CEO.
Yeah, I get rid of the vice president, can get rid of everybody if they want to.
For sure. All right, let me see. So there's 4 sections. All right, let's move on. Section 2 is a little shorter, but that's kind of good because section 1 is pretty long. All right, here we go. Let me wrap up section 1. So it's 2 paragraphs right here. Do feel free to stop me in between if there's something you got to get out. The president shall, at stated times, receive for his services a compensation which shall neither be increased nor diminished during the period for which he shall have been elected, and he shall not receive within that period any other emolument from the United States or any of them. So no state in particular and no federal district there. All right, shouldn't be receiving extra benefits outside of salary. Before he enter on the execution of his office, he shall take the following oath or affirmation. I do solemnly swear or affirm that I will faithfully execute the office of President of the United States, and will to the best of my ability, preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution of the United States. All right, that was
that was a fail.
Yeah. I mean, clearly you're allowed to lie with the Bible underneath your hand. Section 2. They get into that though. So, Section 2. The president shall be commander-in-chief of the Army and Navy of the United States and the militia of the several states when called into the actual service of the United States. He may require the opinion in writing of the principal officer in each of the executive departments upon any subject relating to the duties of their respective offices, and he shall have power to grant reprieves and pardons for offenses against the United States, except in the case of impeachment. Just points to what you were just saying about 5 minutes ago.
Yeah, right. You can't impeach yourself. You can't pardon yourself.
Yeah.
Like somebody.
If you've been impeached, you've been incriminated beyond pardon.
Yeah, so you can't pardon yourself like somebody else was trying to do.
Yeah. Which was hilarious. Like, I'm mad that was like a scandal for months on end. Like, is he gonna do it? Is he gonna attempt this? All right. He shall have power by and with the advice and consent of the Senate to make treaties, provide 2/3 of the senators president concur, and he shall nominate, and by and with the advice and consent of the Senate shall appoint ambassadors, other public ministers, and consuls, judges of the Supreme Court, and other officers of the United States whose appointments are not herein otherwise provided for, and which shall be established by law, but the Congress may by law vest the appointment of such inferior officers as they think proper in the president alone, in the courts of law, or in the heads of departments.
That is just presidential appointees, like they said, the Supreme Court appointees. They have to agree to it. We have a weird way of doing things now where really don't even have to agree. As long as some people agree, it's okay.
Well, yeah. I mean, this is provided 2/3 of the Senate.
Yeah, it's 2/3, but
that's the whole having leverage for your party, kind of allowing the wheels to move more smoothly in your time in office if it should align that way while you're in office.
Yeah.
Here it says, here comes the end of section 2. The president shall have power to fill up any vacancies that may happen during the recess of the Senate by granting commissions which shall expire at the end of their next session. So that's just an addendum to the filling seats.
Yeah, all right, you can fill seats until we actually have a next session.
Yeah, you interim.
Yeah, interim. Cheat the system.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's written in, so it's not cheating the system, but
well, yes, okay.
Leveraging the system. All right, so section 3 is really actually just one paragraph, so feel free to opine on this as much as possible because section 3 and section 4 are both one short blurb respectively.
Yeah.
All right. So he shall from time to time give the Congress information of the state to the Union and recommend to their consideration such measures as he shall judge necessary and expedient. He may, on extraordinary occasions, convene both houses or either of them, and in case of disagreement between them, with respect, that word is capitalized, to the time of adjournment, he may adjourn them to such time as he shall think proper. He shall receive ambassadors and other public ministers. He shall take care that the laws be faithfully executed, and shall commission all officers of the United States. So that's all of section 3 right there. So he has to do the dignitary thing. He can convene houses of Congress to discuss matters on a whim. He just got that executive power.
Executive power, yep.
I mean, there's just remember that's like just being able to say the CEO can call up the board on a whim.
Yeah, that's what happens. Board meeting, emergency board meeting.
Yeah. Section 4 is actually, I mean, it's short, but it's very important. All right, here we go. The president, the vice president, and all civil officers of the United States shall be removed from office on impeachment for and conviction of treason, bribery, or other high crimes and misdemeanors.
Yeah, we don't. Like I said, we don't. That sounds great, but just because you have a government doesn't mean it actually does what government's supposed to do.
Yeah, and you know what's funny? I think about their purposeful capitalization of things, and I guess you can't really capitalize the word "shall," but shall kind of it doesn't allow for wiggle room. Shall's not like it may happen.
No, it says if it says shall, that means you must.
Yeah, right. That's
the definition of shall. Shall means you must. In law, shall means you must.
It's destined. It's ordained. Like shall. That's happening. That's forthcoming.
Yes, you means you must remove. But we don't do that here. Like I said, it's like kids, and your parents, do as I say, not as I do.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny because I was listening to someone have this debate, and I guess you're probably the type of person who could get in on this. And I feel like it comes up in society here and there, but I feel like we don't give this conversation enough due, of course. And that's the idea of a lie of omission. Is a lie of omission as dirty or deceitful as just outright obviously it's not quite as dirty as just outright falsifying information to mislead somebody, but I mean, no, it's not because now, well, okay, there's variances here because you can omit something that you know to be true. Like, let's say we play chess, right? And you move your piece in a manner in which you're not allowed to. Well, that's not a live omission. But that's you being ignorant of the rules. So if you move that piece, no matter what action you commit on the board, I'll just put back whatever you took and take your piece off the board because you violated the rules. You might not know you could have lost your piece away.
That's not a live omission.
Well, that's the rules.
That is ignorance of the rules. It's just like if you make a mistake in talking. It's not that you intended to. See, a live omission means you intended to keep out. You had intent to not say it.
For sure.
So, it is the lesser of two evils.
Yeah, which is still evil.
Yes, sure. Which is still evil, as always. So, the lesser two evils doesn't make it any better. It's still the evil. It's just a pretty evil. It's the whole, the cake. You make it look good. It's still the same. Still the same shit that it will be. Just because you dress it up, don't make it the same cake. Just because it's pretty now.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, you can. I guess you can dress up, the sandwich with lettuce and tomatoes, but it's still a so-called.
Yeah.
It's just deluxe now. But, yeah, I'm excited to get into just since we got a couple minutes. I mean, Article 2 was pretty short considering how lengthy Article 1 was. But I mean, of course, I guess that's by necessity. I'm very intrigued and excited next week to get into Article 3 because I know you know Article 3.
My favorite.
The judiciary.
Article 3. Article 3, Section 2, Part. I can't even say part.
Is it 18? Well, yeah. Well, no, is it part? Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
It's the whole thing. The whole thing is just beautiful.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, and of course, Section 2 is the lengthiest part of Article 3.
Mm-hmm. Because it all just goes together. It's not even separate. That's the whole part. That's the whole thing that I love about Article 3, Section 2. That whole thing is just one part. That's why there is no break. Yeah. It literally explains that this is all the business. And it even tells you what kind of business it is. It's great. Yeah.
It's pretty beautiful. I do love that it what it helps to do because we always talk about the concept of statutory law. And it kind of helps you understand that the judiciary doesn't involve, like you said, we don't do that here. Like, let what belongs to you belong to you. Like, isn't that from the Bible or something? Yeah. Jesus talking about give the king what belongs to, give Caesar what belongs to Caesar, give to me what belongs to me. Yeah. It is literally the judiciary versus the Senate, the other two bodies of government, because
they're all supposed to be separate. They're all literally supposed to be separate.
Yeah.
One doesn't have power over the other.
When one deals in law, one deals in business, the two shall never meet.
Exactly. And one tells you what type of law they deal with. That's business law.
What, you mean policy?
We'll get to it when we get to it.
Fine, yeah, I'm sorry. No more use of that.
Like I said, we're just here. We're hoping this clarifies things for you, helps you understand what is actually being said more to a comprehension level versus just understanding. That just means you know what the words mean. We want you to comprehend what it's actually saying.
Yeah, you got to go into deeper depth and breadth of the information presented rather than just being able to say, I can define. It's one thing to define the terms individually. it's another thing to interpret what they mean in conjunction with one another.
Just because you can read a sentence doesn't know that you know what the sentence says.
Yeah, that was pretty much like me watching all of my academic career.
Yeah. School is good for that, reading sentences. Doesn't mean you're going to know what it means, but we're going to give you a bunch of sentences, and you're going to regurgitate it.
Yeah, regurgitate. That was the word I was just about to use. Yeah, so props to anyone who's taking on this information with a real attempt to clarify and further understand what it is they're involved in. It's an endeavor that seems thankless, but I can't guarantee you there's light at the end of the tunnel, but you will at least know the tunnel you're in. You'll understand what it is you're witnessing.
The reason I tell people about the Constitution a lot. I speak about the Constitution a lot. And it's not because I'm, a uber patriot, as they like to say, or, I'm a flag toting, eagle flying, two double barrel shotgun, 12 gauge, folding, in the back of my pickup truck kind of guy. It's that the promise of America and what it can be is inside the Constitution, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, when we do things the proper way, the way the Constitution actually outlines for it to be done, the world could be a better place. The United States can be a better place. The issue is when people try to pervert or circumvent or misrepresent what the Constitution says and what the things actually mean, according to men and women and the people, for financial gain, for personal benefit, for status, and for a superiority complex.
Mm-hmm.
That's where all the issues come in. If anyone actually just tried to understand, comprehend, and read the Constitution for what it is, they would love it. They would love trying to be the best America it could be.
It's worth the endeavor, for sure. I mean, I don't think there's any other nation that has...
No, there's not.
Yeah, you know where I'm going. Yeah. That has it set in place for you to truly have liberty in its most literal form.
England has tried to do that, and there are still people who are attempting to push it to that way. The issue is with England is they still have their monarchy in place.
Yeah.
And unless they get rid of their monarchy, what they've already said for the nation, and which is in their documents, the Magna Carta, all the other things, what's even in their own rules and laws, is seldom upheld because they have technically a dictatorship. If you want to be honest, monarchy is just another form of dictatorship.
Oh, absolutely. And it's funny because it actually just comes from a fight between two dictatorships. Because I know you're very familiar with the idea of the feudal era of England and how all that developed, where the church and the state had equal power for a long time until, what was it? Was it Henry VIII?
Yep.
Or yeah, I think so. Who pretty much got into that fight with the church because he wanted
Soul power.
Son. Yeah, but you couldn't just be sleeping around with various women until you had a son back in those
They
days
tried.
because of the church's power. He was like, man, the hell with that. This is the state's church now. And that messed everything up because it was like two mafia families, going at it.
The United States had their own time where the church was attempting the same thing.
Oh, for sure.
It didn't work, but they attempted it.
Yeah, because at one point over in Europe, the church was definitely more powerful than the state.
Yeah, the church was the state.
Yeah, they were. They were like, they could call anyone a heretic. They could have you strung up.
They actually collected the funds. It wasn't and then they gave the monarchy what they decided to give them afterwards.
Yeah, it was like a tacit agreement until the monarchy amassed enough, public influence.
Yeah, support. They amassed enough support because no one was being served by the church being in charge.
Yeah, the church just got too tyrannical.
Yeah, they were like you said, tyrants. It was just multi-dictatorship. It was a bunch of dictators, smaller dictators, in sections and fractions throughout the countryside, as opposed to just one big dictator.
Yeah.
At least with one dictator, you know what you're going to get.
Facts.
That's the way they looked at it. At least with one dictator, we know what we're going to get. You can't have all
you fall in line. Yeah, especially
you can't have one dictator tell me, give me your pence for today. Well, the other dictator just took all my money. Well, I'm just going to take all your food then. So now you use SOL.
And the thing about the church back then, of course, which is crazy. Well, I mean, obviously, inside the church, they spoke Latin, and Latin was not the language of the common people. And so
they couldn't read the Bibles.
Exactly.
That's how they got the power. The people could not understand the language that was being said. Imagine that. The people could not understand the language that's being said, but yet you have laws where there is this thing called legalese, which is not the language that you are using.
Yeah, it comes back from a very old place. There's nothing new under the sun.
Nope.
Your scribes would go into the back rooms and decide what they'd bring to the people and present it.
What's the statement? What has been will be, and what will be has been.
Yeah, it's all cyclical. Yeah. Unfortunately.
But like we said, the whole point of these casts is for further education, to gain knowledge, introspection, thought, to create common sense, because it's so not common. So the need to create a sense of comprehension to where it is a commonplace like it used to be when we had this thing called civics in school. I can't remember which scholar wrote back, but they were writing back when the Patriots, when they were still when the United States was still under English rule. They had wrote back to the king that it was impossible to get people criminalized because everyone understood the law. Law was understood because everyone had a Bible. They understood everything was a Bible and the law, because the law is derived from the Bible and it's derived from natural law. That is law, natural law. The law of the land is law of the land. It does not change because someone else stepped onto your land. So when you are on land, there are laws that are already written. Do no harm. There is no crime. I did no harm, so where is the crime? Because crime literally means injury to a party, which whether it be property or bodily, it's still injury to party. So you have to have, as they say, corpus delicti, injured body. No injured body, there is no crime. Literally with the crime, that's literally the definition of crime. You look it up. Look it up
Good
if you
luck.
want to. I mean, you don't have to. You can choose not to look it up. I mean, you can do what you want to, but that's the definition. An injured party. Where is the injury? If there is no injury, there is no crime. So anytime anyone tells you, hey, this is a criminal act, who to hurt?
I'm still waiting for the state of XYZ to take the stand. I'm waiting. Is yet to happen.
There has to be able to stay. You have to be able to cross-examine the witness or the person you injured. You have to be able to talk to them.
If you're making a claim, I need to hear you claim with your voice. You know, it's funny.
Well, claim is certified through oath or affidavit, as we've already read. It has to be certified through oath or affirmation. Well, certifying. Who's claiming it?
And see, that takes me back to the. I've been doing a lot of studying of the Book of Job lately. Don't ask why. I can't even explain it. Some YouTubers were just like on a rant, and I was enjoying it, and I was like, okay.
Not a bad thing.
There's so many academic opinions of that story, but the point of all that is, there's the one statement that God keeps making to Job whenever he's like, because it's building up, because he's trying to get the whole deal about getting the Job to curse him. And I was like, Job was like acting like he got something pent up with him, and he keeps telling him, "Hey, gird your loins like a man." If you got a claim to make, you gotta say it. You gotta speak out. Otherwise, nothing was said.
Yep. So, as you know, government doesn't go by that. We'll read into that next cast. How government doesn't apply that law at all.
Yeah, they like to circumvent the natural element of how.
Isn't it circumventing if they're not using it and they tell you they're not going to use it?
Well, you're right. I guess circumventing is giving them too much credit. They're really just thugs. I mean, if you want me to just go there, but there's a little bit. It's not really intellectual. It's very much it's like, this is funny when I always think back to like the full faith of the taxpayers, or like that's what backs everything. But I'm like, oh, you mean the full faith of the gun that's in my back right now? Or, well,
you're
hypothetically,
me threatening you is what backs it.
Because like the United States of Debo.
Literally, the whole United States is propped up by under threat and duress. Yeah. Because they literally tell you, we'll take your house if you don't pay these things. We'll take your car.
That's why they got military bases everywhere.
We'll take your children if you don't pay these things. We'll take you. We'll keep you from getting a job if you don't take these things. That's threat and duress and coercion. Threat, duress, and coercion.
TDC.
But what do I know?
I don't know, man. I hope we all figure it out soon. Time is of the essence.
It's over. But I'm stop being so pessimistic. But yeah, the whole point of these casts is just to give you education, let you understand things, give you better clarification to the point you're comprehending, and you don't need these casts anymore. That's really it. The whole purpose is so you will never need this cast again, because you have learned and been educated enough to have knowledge and not regurgitate. So,
thine own self be true.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but you gotta know yourself.
Light, not darkness.
Yeah. So, well, I mean, I guess that's it for today. We kind of will. I mean, that's about our time.
Yeah,
we appreciate you as always for tuning in.
Just because we love y'all.
It's always a labor of love. And we'll catch y'all on the next one. Appreciate it.
Yep. Peace out.
Peace.